Hello, everybody, and welcome to Tech Talk Thursday Creator Cafe. Here we are again. It's Thursday. It's come around so quick. And yes, I'm back home. You can see. We're going to be talking in a minute with Martin about my exploits over in Edinburgh when we all met up, which was really fun. A few tech issues today. My headphones decided to just stop working right in the middle as soon as I pressed that go live button. That's just great. We're a little bit later tonight. I had some client engagement work to do before, so for 1 week only we're at the it's like a late night show for us. It's 7 o'clock. You know, we're getting older. It's nearly bedtime, so it's 7 p.m. and here we are. But I'm going to switch over now and let's get our esteemed colleague on. Martin, how is life with you? Nothing's working today, Tech. I'm done. I've had enough. I'm going home.
You've right.
Yeah.
Two and a half hour live followed by another live. That's what it is.
That's all right. It's
stretching the boundaries.
This is fun. Anyway, how are you doing? What have you been up to? You want to tell people what you've decided to do in part of madness?
Yeah. My better half's away at the moment on a cooking holiday in Italy. So I thought this might be a great time to decorate my kitchen. So I chose a paint colour for the kitchen. Decided I didn't like it much, so I thought I'll start painting the hallway, and then realised actually there's 8 doors in the hallway, and if you've ever done any painting around doors is a nightmare because you have to go around all the detailing around every single door, and there's 8 of them. And then I decided to paint the kitchen as well in a different colour. So all of that is going on, and she's coming back on Saturday, and I'm wondering whether I'm actually going to get it finished because I've already gone through, I think, 10 litres of paint. And anybody who's rollered and painted with paint knows that 10 litres is a lot of paint, and I'm still going.
That is a lot of paint. I mean, and we'll talk about your place shortly, as I've been there only this time last week. That is a lot of paint. I mean, I'm just thinking, I use a 10-litre tin of paint for like a large wall outside. So yeah, okay, that's fair enough. I mean, I think it was a bit of a task that you've set yourself to do. You know, you can never just do one room, right? Because it goes on. It's like, oh, that room looks nice now, and you're actually painting what, 3 rooms, right? You're doing your kitchen, your hallway, and something else, right? Or kitchen and hallway, at least.
It's a kitchen stroke diner, I suppose, and a hallway. But I've decided to go for a technique. It's called colour drenching, and what that means, it's just a fancy way of saying you paint everything one colour. So when I say everything, I mean the ceiling, sometimes the doors, but the ceiling and the skirting and all of the wood trim, and in my case, panelling and little decorative dado lines and all that sort of thing in one colour. And because I'm a bit of a pixel peeker, then everything needs to be right. So multiple coats on absolutely everything, and different surfaces take different amounts of paint, and some soak it up, some don't. So different amount of coats on different surfaces. It's
colour drenching, though. Never heard of that term before.
Gonna know. Yeah, colour drenching.
Colour drenching. That sounds.
It's very fashionable, apparently.
Yeah.
But then again, the book that I was reading that was telling me that it was fashionable is probably 10 years out of date. So probably the moment has been and gone, but it's happening.
Right. Well, this show probably is going to morph into a DIY show if we continue, because I could talk for a while about DIY and paints. I like doing DIY. But anyway, we're not here to talk about that. We're here to just do a little recap of my trip to sunny Edinburgh, and it was sunny for most of the time. I think it rained a little bit on one of the mornings, but we didn't even notice that. And then the rest of the time it was pretty nice, apart from the wind, of course. So, which we'll talk about. So anyway, I had a really nice time, and thank you, Martin, for your hospitality and everything. So let's kick it off. So I arrived. When did I arrive? Tuesday evening, I think, and it was a pretty painless travel. Took the nice tram from the airport, and it's a really easy tram ride. What I didn't realise though is that they've got these. For anybody who is ever going over to Edinburgh, because I did ask the guy, and he's like, So you get the tickets on an app. So there's an app that you can download, and it's for buses and trams. And the thing about it is you can just book your time, and then as soon as you're ready to get on the tram, you activate it, right? And it's great. And then it says, this ticket is activated now and is valid for 35 minutes. You think, that's fine. And then the actual tram ride into town is 47 minutes. So I said to the guy, what happens? Do I have to go? He said, no. He said, typically what happens is, you just activate it and then you can give it to the conductor who's on the tram and he's fine. He'll just scan it and it's okay. So it was no problem. But I just thought, well, what happens? It's a bit weird and it seems like it's only valid for 30 minutes. But he said, everybody asked that question, so it's no problem. And it was like really cheap. It was really cheap. Saeed is here and he's basically saying hello, not from Edinburgh. That's fine. But thank you for joining us as always, Saeed. So that was fun. Then sort of got into the hotel, great, and then met up with your good self, Martin, and who else turned up on that first night? It was John, it was Michael, it was your better half, it was John's wife. Who else was there? I can't remember. That was it, right? I think.
That was it. The
Yeah.
first night, yeah. Probably.
And
We had a choice of about 30 or 40 bars within 100 yards up the front door because you were right in the centre of town. So we managed to find one that was relatively quiet and served a little bit of bar food. You had a bit of haggis even.
I did.
And,
Haggis spring rolls, which is a bit of an unusual combination, but it was pretty good. Highly recommended.
And yeah, a couple of gin and tonics, and a good time was had by all. And then the following day, Neil made his way down to me and popped into this studio here, which we're looking at. So I've got a little bit more space today because we did do a live from here as well, side by side. But I just wondered, this is kind of Wizard of Oz, getting behind the curtain, so to speak. What did you think of the setup, and were there any surprises?
Well, the first thing was it's a lot bigger than I thought it was. In the room itself is quite large, and you've got tall ceilings, and you don't really see that, especially when I'll just go back to full screen. You don't see that when you're Am I on mute on this scene? Let me just check. No, I'm not. So you don't normally see that when you're in this angle. And I didn't realize when Martin was always talking about, oh yeah, my cameras are in an awkward position and it's hard for me to get to them. I thought, well, how awkward can they be? Oh yeah, they're pretty awkward when they're right back against the window where you've got the wooden shutters. But I think we've managed to finagle your setup a bit now where the camera's a little bit more accessible, which is cool. And one of the other things I did notice, and there it is, look at that. Other side. See, you got two views now. Second camera. So it looks really good.
Let me tell you a secret view.
Yeah, exactly.
Back to the other view.
And we switched your cameras around as well, which is interesting. So you've got like this camera that you're looking at right now is actually both the same, the ZV-10s, but this is the 16mm Sigma f1.4 lens maxed out to its bokeh beauty. And then the other camera, if you just switch back to that one, if you can, is the ZV-10 with which lens is that again? It's still an f1.4, but it's a 24mm, I think.
It's a 24mm and it's the fixed one.
Yeah.
And it's a Lumix, is it? Lumix?
Something like that, yeah. It's I can't remember. Who's it? Yeah, I can't even remember. But it's a good lens. But we're having a problem with one of Martin's cameras because one of them won't turn off. So if anybody in the comments knows how to switch off a ZV-10 that seems to be broken, and we've got dummy batteries plugged in there. And I was having a look at it, reset it and done everything. That was a bit of a weird thing though. So the actual rocker switch on top is not working. But anyway, that aside, that was pretty cool. One of the things I thought about Martin's studio was this area here. I thought, oh, that's nice wood paneling. And I didn't realize when I looked at it really closely that it's not wood paneling at all. It's a what is it? A PVC cover? Plastic? It's not plastic, is it? It's PVC, isn't it? It's artwork or something.
It's not. It's a material sleeve that went over a structure for a pop-up stand for an exhibition. So
right.
It is literally, I think, about probably 3 meters by 2 meters, like a big sock that you pull over a stand made out of material, stretchy material,
right.
with a picture on it. And the picture is kind of an office with some wood paneling on and a window and things like that, and a little tree, which is, can't really see behind me, but it's just about in there.
Yeah.
So that's what's in the background, and it's a nice blue colour, moving over to brown, but then I've just lit it with the pink little lights, and the lights are all just like cupboard under counter lights, I think you would call most of them.
Yeah.
So colour changing under counter lights to give me the sort of fade colour.
No, it looks really good, and it's a good setup as well. And the big monitor behind Martin is a sort of it's a proprietary Windows version, right? Goodness, if you ever have to upgrade that, and so on. And it looks really good. But the whole studio is really well laid out. It's not as messy cables as I expected, because mine is cables everywhere. It's not bad. It's a bit of smoke and mirrors, but you have to be careful. If you try to open the shutters, then you could lean and knock a cable over. Saeed says the power of slight blurring. Indeed, I think just that slight sort of little blurry background is helps a lot. And Saeed's asking a question: are your walls white or the classic YouTube blue-grey? I can't remember what colour your walls are actually.
Yeah, actually it's a kind of an indigo blue behind me. So it actually is the colour that it looks. And the material runs through to a sort of I guess a browny colour for where the wood panelling is. So it's just the way that the lights are specifically pointing at the big material backdrop that have lit it up to give us that colour change. But no, it's not the YouTuber standard grey for lighting. It's just what I had available.
Yeah, mine's the same as well. So mine's actually wood paneling behind me, actual wood tongue and groove 1970s style, which was that nice beigey colour. And then I painted that blue, and then on my over my shoulder here is black cork, and I'm just using it mainly for soundproofing, and everything else is just white walls, which you don't see. One day, Martin may come here and say, "Wow, how do you even fit in this room?" But there you go. That's why you can't really have two people in here. So I'll just quickly share my screen. This is a picture of myself, Martin, and me with some. It was taken on a camera, I think. Yeah, it was your camera, I think, this was taken with. And John took the picture for us. And what was interesting is Michael, who's the guy in the middle here, he's the developer of QCam Presenter and Video Pencil, which is what I'm using now, Shoot, Beat Sheet, done a lot of projects over the years. And it was the first time that actually Michael has met in real life somebody who's sort of in the same space in terms of video content creation and things like that. And I don't think he'd ever met anybody, right? He said he's met pretty much people virtually, but not really has met anybody face to face, which was interesting. So it was nice for him to come out and see people that actually use his products and actually love what he does and everything, and to catch up. And Michael and John know each other. I'll show you another picture in a minute, whose son is basically the CTO of Zoom, and John helps Michael out with some of the products as well, and testing and things. So it was a good time. So yeah, as Martin said, on the second day, on Wednesday, Martin, over drinks on the Tuesday, volunteered me to go over to Michael's studio to do a bit of a studio rebuild. I think Michael wanted a bit of a sort of a different look and feel. So let me switch over to this. And this is Michael's studio, and I'll go through a couple of slides. So let me just go and find this one. So he's a dedicated musician, is Michael, and originally his background was this. So this is a grey. It's almost like the largest. I know you've got a very large 18% grey card for doing white balance, but this beats it because it's like 2 meters by 2 meters. It's huge. It was on the entire wall, and when I arrived, Michael was busily trying to sort of use some Velcro to stick this up on the wall because he wanted to just see if we could get a better looking image. And effectively, what he was doing is he was pointing the camera. Can I see another image beforehand? Let me go back. I don't have a bigger image of it, but effectively the camera was where it is there. It was basically just pointing at this screen, and he really wanted a better look and feel. He's also a musician, so he's got a ton of stuff here, rack-mounted gear that he uses pretty much every day for his music and stuff. So what we decided to do is we played around with an angle, and we decided to put his camera, instead of pointing here, it's now actually pointing into that corner. So it gives him a completely different view. It sort of removes all this stuff. There's still a lot of white space here, and I think he's actually looking to put maybe some of those nice reflective tiles that you suggested to do, which was pretty cool. But now he's got more space with his studio because his desk is now at an angle. Instead of being flat to the wall, it's more like this way. he's got some space there. And the end result, if you look at his videos, looks really nice because he's got this practical light. It does look like an octopus or a jellyfish, sorry, in the background. He's got an oscilloscope here, and he's going to hook a microphone to that. So when he's speaking, you can see the oscilloscope moving. And then this is a device that I'm not sure what it's called, that John and his friend is working on. It's like a sort of a teleprompter come camera come something that's used in the medical profession. But Michael's really happy with the overall studio setup, and I think it did make a big difference to him. And it's all about how you feel in your studio. And whilst we've got Saeed on, I know Saeed recently posted that he was looking for a second camera. I think he came on the Creative Amplifiers show. I think that was Monday. The week's going by so quick, I'm not quite sure which day it is. And he mentioned that he wanted a second camera and maybe changing the angle round. So, Saeed, you did post that you did do another angle, whether you added another camera or whether you moved your desk around, because I know you were concerned that moving your desk would give you a panic attack. So I'm just wondering if you managed to sort of set anything up and change anything around, because it is how the room feels to you when you're actually going in and sitting down in it. So there's a lot to be said for, you know, camera angles, how things look. And even though this particular area isn't the tidiest, from Michael's perspective, he's not looking at all this stuff behind him. He's just basically concentrating on what's going on here. And he's got a lot more space in the desk now. I'm not sure what's going on here, but he did say that he will be clearing up that, and he won't mind me saying that. So I think there's a few things he'll be cleaning up. But it was work in progress. I think there's a big difference to his overall studio setup. So that was pretty good.
Yeah, the one thing I'm noticing there, and I'm just wondering that the rack in the background, which has got all the different elements, the musical elements in it, that looks like something that has been stolen by 1980s orchestral manoeuvres in the dark or something. But I'm just wondering if there's any interesting lights on that are changing and moving that could perhaps mirror the other bit. So you could have that to one side of him and the oscilloscope and whatever to the other side, and then he looks a bit sort of mad scientist or something like that, which might be quite a cool look for him.
I think so. It could probably be.
Mind you, that doesn't look like it's going to move very easily, though, does it? But I mean,
no, it's pretty heavy. I think there's some stuff in there, and it's all connected to this stuff down here as well. I think so. We'd have to move a few things, but I did suggest that maybe, and what you don't see here is in the main shot. I don't know if we can just see if you just
he's got a big keyboard, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's got a piano here, and another keyboard here, but on this part right there is a small LED light similar to what you have that is basically projecting this blue hue light that you can see here. So it's a bit of a nice blue tone behind him. I should have found a picture of what his studio looks like, but now from the front. But you can see down here actually that it looks pretty good. So overall he's happy with it. I think he's going to change a few things, but the videos I've seen, it's quite a dramatic difference between how he had it before and this big grey lump behind. And I think he was using it really for doing chroma keying. So when he was using QCam and having himself in a smaller image on the bottom side of the screen, I think he was doing something like that. So that's effectively what he was doing. Let's see what Saeed said. So Saeed says, I like the look of the corner, but also love symmetry. Well, mine's actually in a corner as well. So my, I don't know whether I should do a studio. I'll just switch this other camera on actually. One sec. I can show you because my studio also has the HubSpot's not turning on. What's wrong with you, HubSpot? Come on, don't let me down. Oh, there it is. Martin's studio is straight on basically. It is a full length room, and it's longer than it is wider. So it does give you a sense of depth as well. And how many sort of meters would you say is behind you? It's like 2 meters, 3 meters behind you? To the end wall, I mean.
About 3.
3 meters, yeah.
Yeah, it's about, I would say the whole room is about 3.5 meters wide and about 5 meters in length. And I intentionally set the camera so that it shows the set of shelves as if they're sort of going away towards the background. And that monitor, the large monitor in the background, is also sitting at an angle. And the idea of both of those is to just give me some depth of field within the room. So Neil's got his corner, and I think we pointed Michael in the corner. So I've just got mine all, I suppose, stacked on one side, all of the depth of field. But it's still leading your eye to sort of somewhere behind my head here, is the whole sort of depth going on the image. So yeah, it's not accidental. It took me ages to work out how to do that. I used to have this set of shelves behind me, but I found all sorts of things were reflecting off the lighting and making it really difficult, and the camera was getting confused because there were hot spots effectively in different areas on the shelves, and I just decided, right, no, I'm still going to include them, but just as a side accessory rather than the main backdrop, because I don't think you want to be too busy in the background. A few things is okay, adds a bit of character, but I think the days are over of COVID times where you have millions of records or books or something in the background intentionally, and then get everybody looking at them to try and work out what they were. In part because, of course, we tweak for the slight bokeh blur anyway, so you're never gonna know.
Never gonna read them.
But
Exactly.
No.
Yeah, Saeed was saying that, so we all have spaces behind our desks. Well, the desk behind me, let me just switch this other camera if it works. Probably haven't got it set up. Look at that. Look at that great camera angle. That's fantastic. I don't know what happened
Perfect.
there. Why is my tail air not working? Hang on, let me just, it's camera D. 1 second. I'll fix it. Because it's always fun to have a different camera.
If there's anybody out there who wants to book some time with us to get their cameras set up perfectly,
yeah,
and,
don't call us. Yeah, don't call us. Yeah, exactly. So, camera D. All right. So behind me is basically a desk. So this desk is right up against the wall. You can see it's got two little lights. But in front of me, yes, you're right, Saeed. I do have a desk in front of me with some space because it's allowing me to put the tripod there, the teleprompter, the confidence monitor, and all that kind of stuff. And I think you're saying, how many switches do you have to turn on? Switches. Most of mine are Bluetooth. So the Godox light behind me, I'll just show you. So this light is a Godox light. It's accessible via Bluetooth, so I have an app for that. This one is a newer small LED RGB light, which again is controlled by the Bluetooth, and then Elgato key light here, which is Elgato, so it's a Stream Deck button, and then this thing for my main light over this side is controlled via the remote control, similar to Martin. I think, Martin, you've got a Godox light, and it's controlled by the remote control as well, so that's better. Mm-hmm. So I mean, technically 4 switches, but they're all sort of accessible and not having to go and switch things on. What about yourself? Are you controlling everything by Bluetooth, or is it all switches?
No. So I've got a couple of Elgato lights which are controlled via the app, the Elgato app, and then I've got 3 other remote controls. So I'm not physically going around and pressing switches, but I am, to my left of me, 3 remote controls. So if I'm coming down, I'm turning on 1 light, turning on 2 lights, and then pressing 3 remote controls to bring the other set of lighting for the background and things on as well. So yes, there are a few buttons to press, but and it could be easier if I'd been spending more money, and like I know, for instance, Doc Rock, he's got everything connected on one app, but you have to pay a lot of money. There's a big difference in price between me using $5 type little LED lights everywhere, which are controlled by a rubbishy little thing like this to change the colour of the lights, but that's $5 each. If I go buying these equivalent from Elgato, they might be $50 each. So
yeah,
for the remote control ones. Yeah,
there's a bit of a difference.
Each to their own, I think.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people use those Wi-Fi plugs as well. So, but I've always found that having too many Wi-Fi devices isn't always the best thing in your room as well. And they're not cheap. I think they're around $45 $8 each, I think, for each individual one. And mine are not all connected like that. Some are USB light, so it's a bit of a pain. So I just end up it's no big deal. It's nice to just come in. The main thing is to make sure that you have your actual setup, how you want it, ready to go, turn on the camera and press record. If you just have to turn on a couple of lights, it's fine. If you have to start pulling in lights and setting them up and, as we did, as we'll show in a second, we were experimenting in Martin's kitchen, the one before it was painted, so I have no idea what it looks like. I have to do before and after. In terms of just showing a little bit of a sort of a camera build, because we were originally going to do the live show from the kitchen, and we thought, well, maybe that's not the best idea because we were faffing around and there was light. We'll show that in a second. So real quick, let's go back to second night, third night. So this is where we had nice pizzas. This is in Portobello. What's it called? Portobello West. It's the beach. And there was a beach. It was nice. It was just sandy beach for miles to see, and it was a nice night. And we had some pizza, and that is John, who's the Zoom guy, and that's Martin's mum, and that's John's wife, and that's Sam, who you'll be meeting soon, and that's Sheena, which is Martin's partner. So Sam is obviously got a build as well. Do you want to say about what's going on with Sam, basically? So Sam is working with us at the moment, and just take it away.
So Sam's working with us at the moment. So he's in our Portobello office, and basically that's my mother's house, flat by the beach, and he's got his room, and I've thrown a load of gear at him and let him set up his room in the bedroom. And we've moved it around a few times, and I think we've got it looking good. What we didn't realise was that the internet connection there is fairly hopeless. So there is somebody coming around, an engineer is arriving on the 10th of June, which is early next week, Monday, Tuesday next week, and upgrading that. So as soon as we get that sorted, we'll get Sam on a live with us, and we can do a bit of a walkthrough of what his room started off like and what it looks like now, because I don't think anybody would think he's in a spare bedroom somewhere. It looks really good.
Yeah, and we've I didn't see it obviously from behind the scenes, so when I went over last week, was kind enough to have a look at Sam's room, and I think before, and he'll show us when we go live, but one of the areas that he was sort of setting up it was very almost restrictive, right? It was a very small gap between his desk and the back room, and he's done some really creative things with it. And I think this is just showing that no matter what gear you have and what kind of space you have, you can turn anything really into something decent. And it's just about your imagination and having a nice uncle who's got some gear that can throw it your way as well. But I know even if you had no gear, I mean, even if you just had a single light, maybe an LED light and a single obspot camera, it's amazing what you can do just with being creative. And I think you've given him some really good ideas, and he's just gone off and sort of tried to play with that himself, hasn't he, a bit, which is great, I think.
Absolutely. So yeah, he's just got a standard little, pretty much the bottom of the range Osbot Meet camera, which is, I think I got it £67, something like that.
Which is
really cheap.
Yeah.
So that's his main camera. I've also got him another Osbot, which he's borrowing just to show, where things, like Neil just did in a minute ago, just to show what the room looks like from a different angle. So we do a bit of that, and there's a sort of a room divider that he's using and lighting up the room divider, and that looks quite smart as well. So we're just experimenting with distances. So one thing he had his camera on the Osbot, the camera directly behind his laptop, but he was very close to it.
Yeah.
So close to it that he was just appearing very large on the screen. And I don't think we maybe sort of talked through that enough. But you need to have sort of at least probably 2 or 3 feet between your camera and you to be able to get a decent size image sitting there without it appearing that you're sort of like right up against the image, which is what he was like. You need a little bit of distance between you and your camera. Typically, if you just turn a laptop and flick it up, the distance, it's not really quite far enough. You really want another few inches camera distance away from you. And I think we could probably see that once we go to the me in the kitchen scenes, because I was setting up just using a laptop.
Well, I'll just
to start with.
I'll show you this first one. So this is Martin's kitchen. There's we've got gear everywhere because Martin was kind enough to try and set some stuff up for us. But obviously, I mean, you know, it's like one of those things again. What's wrong with this picture? I mean, obviously we've got all this light that we couldn't control too much. You had blinds, but it's really hard to control that, even at the best of times, because the clouds going over the sun is going to keep changing it. And yeah, so you had your camera here, and you were sitting like there. I think we got a picture of you. Let me just have a look. I think we got a picture of you here. So you were. So I was really behind the laptop there, taking a picture and just trying to get an idea of the distance. This is almost like when you'd sort of finish the work. But you can see that if your camera was here, then yeah, there's quite a bit of space. But a lot of the time, people are actually sitting here, aren't they? So you've got like what, a foot or something, and it looks too close. You don't want to be all head, whatever. You do need to have a little bit of torso in the shot and things. So we just put this Meet 2 here on a stand and gave it enough space. And we had to move this quite a way back actually, because where you were sat, it was here before, and it was even too much, I think, cropped in, even when the camera was just here. So actually just moving it back maybe a foot made a big difference, right?
Yeah, and the interesting thing, I've never tried that sort of sitting on a couch, sofa, settee, whatever you want to call it in different languages, but a seating device.
Right.
I've never tried doing a stream on seated down like that, and I've also got a wireless mic which Neil brought over with him. But we were just trying a few different things out. We were going to sit side by side on the settee, but in the end it turned out there wasn't enough time to do that. We just moved to the other studio and did things from there. But it was an interesting build, and we'll show you another time what it looked like when we'd finished as well, because Neil ran around in the background with a video camera. So the idea is we'll maybe create a minute or 2 minute of a super fast forward bit of film and go from one end to the other to look at a couple of mistakes and a couple of different look and feels and see what we ended up with.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
and you can see
space.
the distance between the laptop and the camera here, and it's just, you know, the thing with the Meet 2 is it's a really easy camera and setup and so on. And I don't know if Saeed is still here, but I think Saeed, you were looking for a camera, and you were messing around with NDI, and that didn't work, or it was a bit too cumbersome for it to get working with the plugin on OBS. What did you settle on in the end then? I can't remember what you said in your article. Did you go for you did a second camera angle? Maybe you just got out your older webcam, because we were talking about older webcams as well, like the Logitech C290, which was like the de facto standard during COVID, right? I think everybody was buying them. What did you have during COVID then? Because obviously when you were running your business, Martin, and you were switching over to doing more remote stuff, did you have anything, or did you end up having to buy stuff?
I actually did get exactly that camera.
Okay.
And
I think everybody got that camera.
Thought it was really hopeless. I really probably didn't set it up well enough, to be fair to Logitech, but I really didn't like it at all. And at that point, I think that's when I found Adrian Salisbury. And I also found a couple of old DSLRs that I'd got kicking around, and then started to connect those up using cam links and things. So suddenly I was like, ooh, this is interesting. And actually I went and bought I can't remember which Canon, it was all Canon cameras that I had. Bought a couple of eBay, really cheap the bodies, and then went and bought lenses. And I bought this, what they call an art house lens, but it was so wide lens that it had a sort of a...
It was like a dome, it had a bubble on it.
Lens.
Right, yeah.
Much like a dome.
Ultra wide, yeah.
And it...
Fisheye.
Ultra wide, and it gave fantastic bokeh effect in the background. And I just thought, this is amazing. But then the only thing that I noticed was it was so wide that everything else in the background kind of curved as well.
It was distorting, yeah, it had a lot of
because
distortion.
Because you're on this ultra wide,
yeah.
I've got some vertical lines behind me. I noticed that they were all sort of curving a bit at the edges. Yep. I said, well, that's not right. So then I end up cropping in because I wanted to lose the edges but keep the blur, and it all became quite complicated. So,
Yeah.
However, yeah, that's where I started off.
Yeah, those fisheye lenses are really popular. They put all the fisheye lenses in a smaller capacity in the GoPros. That's where you get that ultra wide action shot, and you notice everything. Like you notice all the skiers with the skis, and they look like that. And they're actually bowed, aren't they? They look a bit weird. So, yeah. But those fisheye lenses are really good. But it's funny where people start, I think. But the C290 was super popular back in the day, like collector's items now. But I never thought they were the best cameras. But that was all that was available, I think, to the masses back then, unless you started investing in DSLRs and things.
I seem to recall it was really difficult to get hold of it as well. So
they're all sold out, right?
I think I might have even bought a second-hand one at the same price as a new one because I couldn't get the new one.
People were probably just buying them from Amazon, then reselling them at an inflated cost on eBay, which is typically what happens when you get a supply chain problem. So Saeed says that he was using Video Ninja, of course. Yeah, that's a good workaround if you can't get NDI working. He was saying that Video Ninja can be used in the browser, yeah, also as an app for Android, and adding it as a browser source to OBS took a few minutes. Yeah. So I know you wanted something that was completely wireless. I didn't think you had a phone though, but obviously if you had a spare phone, that's a really good option. So again, you can use a phone as a second camera. Loads of people do. It's whatever you want, whatever you've got available to you. Anything else about your space? As you said, we'll bring a video out and show a bit more about it, but I think that was the main part of that, right?
Yeah, that was the main thing. And, I do have blinds that go all the way down to the floor, but the blinds are relatively lightweight, really. And ideally, you don't really want that amount of light in a studio space. You really want to control your lighting. And as Neil says, like in Edinburgh, it is sunny from time to time, but the clouds also go over. So the light changes quite dramatically all the time, and that's not what you want. You want to be controlling your light in that type of environment.
Yeah, I'll be interested. So anybody who's watching this on the replay or whatever, just leave a comment and let us know what you have in your studio. Do you have to control your lighting? Do you have windows? Do you have blinds? How do you do that? Because in my room, I'm in an attic room here. In the back of the attic, which you can't see because it's through a door, there is a window and an aircon unit. But in this room, there's nothing. It's completely dark. If I switch my lights off, it's completely dark. So at least you have better control over your lighting if it is in the dark. But yeah,
let's do that.
I think you're the same, right?
So that's just one light that I've turned off there, the main key light. So that's what it will be out without a key light. But I think it's fairly normal for people to assume that cameras want light, and therefore it would be good to be in a room with lots of natural daylight. But the problem is it changes all the time. So
yeah, it doesn't work the best if there's a lot of changing light and so on. I mean, and cameras do need a lot of light. That's the problem. They do need a lot more light than you actually think. Even with nice lenses, they do actually need a lot of light, or you're going to get grainy footage. That's why you do see a lot of webcams that have small sensors aren't the best for actually giving you a decent image. And that's just the way it is, unfortunately. Said says, this couch setup wouldn't work with the cats. Yes, definitely not. And he said he hasn't seen the sun for ages. My blinds are always down. Oh dear. You need to go outside and get some Vit D though. It's important to make sure that you get some vitamin D in you and not be like us where we're just squirreling away here for a long time before we go outside and realize there is sun. I could come in here sometimes in the morning, work on stuff, and then go outside and realize that it's blazing sunshine and have no idea. I only hear it when people are splashing around in the river, and I think, oh, it's hot now. People are obviously going to be outside.
I was on this morning with Alec Johnson, who's in Thailand, recently moved to do multiple studio builds in a new place, and he was saying, oh, if you can hear a hissing in the background when I'm talking, that's because it is absolutely belting with rain at the moment. So,
oh, wow.
Rainy season in Thailand. When it rains really hard, and you could hear it in the background, the rain hammering off the floor outside in the background.
Yeah, you mitigate for that. Yeah, so Alec is, and we'll talk about Alec in a second. So he's setting up a new studio, isn't he? It's a multi-purpose studio, different floors, I think, in his new building. Is that right? Yeah.
So what he's done actually, he's moved house, and he's then rented a building down the road, which is 5 minutes walk away, which is an old shop, and it's on 2 floors, and he's building, I think, 3 separate studios within the shop, for different types of recording stuff, and then another one for interviews, and another one for I don't know whether it is a sitting on the settee type shots or what, but he's building 3 separate studios now. So he's really going to town. If you're hiring a whole building for your studios, you know you've become obsessed.
Yeah, it's not gear acquisition syndrome. What did I say the other day? It's room acquisition syndrome. That's why he's getting more and more rooms now. But that's interesting. And it was fortunate for me to sort of join Martin on one of his calls with Alec on was that on the Wednesday? No, Thursday morning, right?
Thursday
nice to catch up with a few people. Yeah, and that's when he was talking about his new room and fiber, and he seems to let us know that in Thailand the internet connectivity and fiber and stuff is really cheap to start with, and it's very accessible, right? It seems to be good speeds as well, which is not like a lot of places.
Essentially they've made it available to the masses. And Alec lives up in the north of Thailand. He's not in main Bangkok type area. He's miles and miles away.
Oh, I didn't realize. Right.
So he's pretty remote. So it would be the equivalent of living in somewhere towards the north of Scotland, and he's still got fantastic Wi-Fi at very low cost. So they took it as a priority, I think.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. It's good to have internet connectivity because you need that now. I mean, we can't do what we do without having decent internet, and I think that's a lot of design and purchase choices for people when they're actually finding buildings and also areas to do their studio work in. The first question is, how's your internet? And if it's no good, then there you go. One last picture I wanted to share, which was the flight back, which was typical delays. Unfortunately, it started off, my flight was supposed to leave, I think, something like 9 o'clock. I ended up leaving at 2:30 in the afternoon, something like that. Yeah, lots of delays. They boarded a ton of people to start with on the plane. And then they said, you're going to have to come off the plane. Sorry. And it was to do with the fog in Porto, which is where I was flying into. Apparently, a lot of flights had been diverted, which is really bad. If you're coming in to Porto and then they're going to divert you to Lisbon, which is a good 4-hour journey at least from one end to the other, or worst case, they were diverting some people to France, which wouldn't have been good for anybody's holidays. Dortmund, yeah, they could have dumped everybody in Dortmund, maybe. I don't know, but blame the weather, which was unusual. I wasn't expecting that, but what about those winds, Martin, on Wednesday? That was a bit shocking.
So I did one of the days decided, right, we'll pop out and grab some lunch, and there's a great little bakery nearby me. It's on the middle of an industrial estate, but fantastic bakery. And we went for a walk along there, and directly opposite my house. It's what we call links. Links is an old golf course historically, but it's also part of green areas linking parts of the town together. And we went out the door. It was lovely and sunny. We were walking along, and the wind was so strong that my glasses and my cap blew off and went into a hedge, and we were having to lean into the wind just to try and stay upright. It was unbelievable.
I never experienced
that. So it's not normally quite that bad.
It's crazy.
It's normally fairly windy, but that was extreme wind.
Extreme, yes. Well, so that was a trip. It was great, and it was really nice to catch up with Michael. We were going to talk a bit more about tools today, but I had other things to do, unfortunately. So we were just going to have a nice recap on our Edinburgh trip. But we did have Michael on the show last week, as most of you know, who joined us to talk about QCam Presenter, and we'll be exploring a little bit more about QCam as well. He's just made some new updates as we speak. I was just watching one of his videos before I came on tonight. So QCam Presenter, unfortunately, is only available for Mac. So if you're a Mac user, then you've got some alternatives to the likes of Ecamm and OBS and Meld and all the other tools. But we'll definitely have to have a little bit of a tools talk at some point around all design and sort of purchasing decisions for you when you want to sort of start either going live or doing recorded stuff or presenting better on Zoom, whatever sort of your workflow is. Then there are so many tools now to choose from, depending on what platform you want to look at, depending ease of use, complexity. I mean, any of these tools can do pretty much anything that you want, and it just depends on what resonates with you when you're looking at the user interface, or really simply just, you know, setting a few things up and things like that. Saeed said he was promised OBS talk. Sorry, Saeed, I have to let you down there. Next time.
I said we'd mention it in passing, so OBS. Done.
That's not going to wash with Saeed.
Actually,
go ahead.
We would quite like to see perhaps Saeed pop on and have a chat about Meld Studio, because that's kind of based on OBS, or in part.
Yeah, at some point. Yeah, definitely.
To hear your opinion on the difference between OBS, full blown, and the elements that Meld have taken based upon the same technology toolset and put together. See what you think.
Assuming Saeed has played with Meld, but I'd like Saeed maybe to pop on as well to just have a chat about OBS in general, just to talk, because obviously OBS is free. It's available for both Mac and PC. I don't know what the parity is like between the two. I'm sure the features and everything that's available in OBS just out of the box is available for the Mac and Windows, but I know that some of the plugins, which are open source and designed by lots of creators and so on, are basically not ported over to the Mac, because for obvious different reasons. So he said, whenever you're ready. Did you want to do it now? Is that what you're saying? Or did you want to do it at a later time? I think what we're saying, Sadie, is maybe we can get you on at a later time to have a bit more of a dedicated show to this, because I'm actually flagging tonight. It's been a long day, and I'm going to pretty much close the show up in a few minutes. But I just wanted to say, first of all, a big thank you again to Martin and to Michael and to John and everybody that was over there last week in Edinburgh. It was fun, and we don't get a lot of time face to face and meet in person, so it was actually nice to actually meet people that we'd seen online, virtually, and so on. And Saeed, we would love to meet you at some point. So we have to plan a trip to Dortmund, or you'll have to come over.
Yes, to find out that people actually, they actually eat and they drink. And, well, I suppose you see people drinking, don't you? But you don't normally see people having a pizza or whatever else.
Yeah.
So, normal bodily functions are actually available for streaming people as well. So.
I think one of the fun things Michael said was, because we've all got decent cameras and he's seen us a few times now, we all look the same when we meet each other. Not like it's a shock. Apart from, we don't know how tall people are or short people are, so there's no surprises. Well, I hope there wasn't anyway. But it was quite interesting to see. Oh yeah, that's exactly what you look like on camera, which is really funny. Gone are the days of where it was a fuzzy webcam with looked like you had Vaseline over it, and then you see somebody's like, whoa.
Yeah, there's no escape though. Then once Michael walked into the bar, it was that's Michael. Unlike. That could be Michael, but I'm not really sure. No, that's definitely Michael.
That's definitely Michael, yeah. As Saeed says, seeing people's legs. Yeah, people have legs. It's amazing. And they wear trousers and things like that, which is also a surprise. But you never know. Anyway, next week, got a couple of things going on. I've just dropped my pen. Hang on. So, next Wednesday, at a time that I can't remember, I think it's 5 o'clock UK, which will be noon Eastern. Next Wednesday, Martin and myself are going to be on the Streamer Live channel. We had Tatiana Rodriguez just this Wednesday gone, who was talking about getting over the fear of presenting and being on camera, and it was a very informative and really interesting sort of insight into what, and she's mentioned something similar before, but it was nice to go through her journey and share some of her experiences and how she sort of gets herself prepared and stuff. We're going to be doing our AI studio build, have a bit of a play around with other people's stuff, and we're going to maybe ask for the audience to take a snapshot of their studio. We'll run it through AI, and we're looking at critiquing as well, which is the main thing, just to see if we can improve people's sort of environments and just give pointers to what we've seen in the past around how to set things up. And it doesn't have to cost a fortune, and it doesn't have to be a big task in order to make a small difference to somebody's studio environment. I think it looks pretty good. So that's what we'll be doing. I think that's about it, isn't it, for the actual Streamer Live stuff. We're actually going to be doing maybe another session in the future as well, but that's what we're going to be doing next week. So look out for that. We'll post it on LinkedIn and the various socials once we get sort of confirmation that's all going ahead. I think it is, because I see us on the community. So I guess we better turn up next Wednesday to do something, at least. Or looks will kill us, I think, if we don't turn up. So there you go. So that's what we're up to. And next Thursday on this show, we have Ella Glasgow on, which is going to be fun. We've not met before, virtually or otherwise, but I am subscribed to her channel and her newsletter. And Ella is really an interesting character, and she's had an interesting sort of history in the entertainment industry. And now she's doing video production and just letting people shine on camera with her own different sort of workflows and approach. So I'll be really looking forward to having Ella on the show at the regular time of 5 p.m. UK, noon Eastern, this time next week, or Thursday. Yeah, Thursday, whatever that is. The 12th, because it's Friday the 13th next week. So I won't be going out anywhere on Friday next week. So we'll leave it at that. Any parting words of wisdom from you, Martin? Because you better get painting again, right? Do you paint at night? Are you a night painter, or are you... Are you finished now, or do you have to go back to it?
I think I'll. Well, it's not that late, is it? Just coming up late. I've probably got an hour of painting, and then I'll be kind of there. Yeah, enough. Time to get something to eat and a drink, and the light starts to fade, but not until 10 o'clock. So it's not really a big excuse in Edinburgh at the moment. It's still really bright, but I will start to fade. So
right.
Yeah, I'll probably do another hour. And that'll do me. And back on the brushes tomorrow. Oh,
great. Well, appreciate you joining me a bit later tonight, because I know it's you've been busy as well with your stuff. But looking forward to next week. And Saeed will arrange with you maybe to come on and do a live with us in maybe 2 or 3 weeks, something like that. And we can talk about OBS, because I started with OBS. So I'm interested to know what's changed and how you're using it in your workflow, and give us a few insights on sort of the nuts and bolts between that 3-letter software. All right, until then, it is good night from me in Portugal, and
cheerio from sunny Edinburgh.
See you soon. Bye.